How Soviets saw the Challenger disaster, today on The World. I'm Marco Werman. 30 years ago today, as America watched, the space shuttle Challenger took off and then exploded. People in the Soviet Union were also horrified.
You could see the faces changing all of a sudden, and you could see, sort of the shock and then the grief. And the Russian side actually was quite quick to send the condolences.
Also, the potential link between the Zika virus and babies born with small brains has reignited the abortion debate in Brazil.
It's totally unacceptable that the state that has failed to protect the population against the Zika virus, not to give clear support for women pregnant with a baby with microcephaly.
Those stories and more today on The World. I'm Marco Werman, and it's The World. It seems as if we just started hearing about the Zika virus a few weeks back, and now today the World Health Organization is warning that Zika is spreading explosively throughout South and Central America. Those are their words. A case of Zika probably won't make you all that sick. The main concern now is for pregnant women because Zika seems to be linked to a severe birth defect. Brazil is at the center of this now, and we're going to talk about how Zika has reignited a debate there about abortion. But first, let's find out more about the public health implications of Zika. Dina Fine-Maron writes about medicine, biology, and health for Scientific American. So the WHO is holding an emergency meeting on Monday to assess what is the appropriate level of international concern, all the while saying Zika is spreading explosively. So how serious is this epidemic?
WHO is very concerned about this epidemic right now. They're not too concerned about Zika virus itself because, as you mentioned, the symptoms are pretty mild. What they are concerned about are these worrying links to this birth defect called microcephaly that causes babies to be born with abnormally small heads and potential underlying brain damage, and also a connection to an autoimmune disease that can cause paralysis called Guillain-Barré syndrome. But one of the biggest concerns right now is that there's no vaccine for Zika virus, and there isn't likely to be one in the next few years. Of course, right now we're left with no way to prevent Zika virus from spreading in the affected areas, except for engaging in mosquito control and asking people to try to avoid getting bit in the first place.
Just in terms of the spread, I mean, the WHO infectious disease expert said today we can expect between 3 and 4 million cases of Zika virus, which sounds really ominous to me. How and why is Zika spreading so fast?
The reason Zika virus is spreading so much is because the two types of mosquitoes that are capable of spreading it are everywhere in the Americas except for continental Chile and Canada. So if you think about that, that means that these mosquitoes are there and can bite an infected person. The virus can incubate in their body for about a week, and then if there's another person close by, they can bite another individual. Now, that World Health Organization number sounds scary, 4 million, but two things to keep in mind there are, one, the disease is relatively mild, and two, most people don't end up having the symptoms of Zika virus at all. So you might be infected with Zika virus and you might not even know it.
The White House has been answering questions about Zika today, and they say the risk from Zika virus for most people is minimal. How concerned should Americans be about Zika?
Americans who are at home, meaning here in the United States, really don't have to be very concerned. The concern is if someone, and if that someone in particular is pregnant or trying to get pregnant, goes to one of these regions where Zika virus is being actively transmitted. But here at home, although there are the mosquitoes that are biologically capable of transmitting the virus, you really don't need to be that concerned at this time because there are no cases of local transmission of Zika virus right now. The only people that have gotten sick are those who went somewhere, let's say on vacation, and were bit by a mosquito that had the virus there.
So, Dina, let's talk about microcephaly, this condition where babies are born with abnormally small heads. The WHO is very concerned about the rise of cases in Brazil. What do we know at this point about the link between Zika and microcephaly for sure?
Well, although there have been almost 4,000 cases reported in Brazil, we've only had 6 cases so far, and by we, I mean the Brazilian government has only had 6 cases that they've confirmed where a child born with microcephaly also had genetic material from Zika virus present in its body. But researchers were talking today from CDC about the need to review the charts that come from Brazil about the number of microcephaly cases. It's a relatively loose definition of what microcephaly is. You measure the circumference of a baby's head compared to other babies of the same